What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rugged Adventures. Normally when we come down here we have several gun bags, we have gun cases, you know, the rifle cases, but today we only brought this bag with us. This is just where I usually keep all my hearing protection, eye protection, things of that nature, because today we're looking at the KelTec Sub2k Generation 3, and this is a gun that was just recently introduced, and the thing that I love about it is that KelTec, you know, unlike a lot of other companies and a lot of other industries, the gun industry, the cell phone or whatever, they listen to their customers and, you know, completely redesigned their folding carbine in order to meet what folks are saying that they actually want, which for a company to do anything that the customer actually wants, I think is a huge deal. So let's unfold this guy and take a look at what has changed on this from the Gen 1 and Gen 2, because there is a lot of stuff that is new and upgraded and is very good. And then there's really one thing that I, you know, sort of don't like with this gun versus the older models. The first thing to note is that this does not have the iron sights on it, as you can see, and this is not how it connects to the stock. And that's the one thing that I really don't like about this one, is that it does not come with iron sights, but I can understand why they did that, because it's probably something that people are going to just put an optic on anyway, and you know, so they're just selling stuff that they don't need, and they can potentially lower the price. But on this one, you just push this button right here, and you are able to fold this thing out. And the hook of this gun is that you can leave an optic on it, because as you're folding it out, you can twist the barrel one way or another before you lock it in, just like the, you know, the older Gen 2s or Gen 1 Sub2Ks. And there's been a lot of folks that I've seen saying, like, how durable is this going to be as far as having this, you know, this rotational feature on here. And when you look at what this actually does, and there's no cameraman back here, so we're not going to be flagging anyone. If you can see, if that will focus in on it and not me, maybe if I get out of the picture, when you rotate this, the barrel does not rotate. Only the handguard rotates. Same with down here. Only the handguard rotates around the barrel folding mechanism that I assume is probably the same or very similar to all the other ones. So I do believe that this is going to be just as durable as any of the other Sub2k models. It just gives you the advantage of being able to put an optic on here, which a lot of folks did, and you had to purchase a lot of aftermarket parts to get that on there. I think the little offset mount was like 150 bucks plus your optic, because the gun only folded like this. But now with its ability to fold either way, you can fold that, lock it in, so you can put you can do whatever you want to this $400 gun. You can put an EOTech on there, a magnifier, a laser designator, you can put a bipod, a flashlight, whatever you want to put on there, as long as you keep everything on one side of the M-LOK rails. And so that is just the first thing that they improved on that folks have been doing anyway. The next is the charging handle and how it locks back. They made this much bigger than the original versions, and they made this much larger so that you could get a more meaty grip on the charging handle. In addition to that, they made it so you can lock it back either way. So if you're left or right-handed, you can lock it back, and then however you want to do that to get it, you know, loaded, you can do that. And that was something that I know a lot of folks had upgraded, and now it's just standard on the gun. Now this does have pick rails top and bottom. It has M-LOK, you know, side to side. The barrel is threaded, as most of the second gens were, so we can put a suppressor on there, which we're going to get to in a minute. The one thing that I will note about these pick rails is if you look closely on here, this one on top has a lot more room in the rail here. This one on the bottom is much smaller, has a much smaller dimension on the rail, and it doesn't fit the same stuff. Again, not flagging a cameraman here, but if you look here, I tried to put a GoPro mount on here. It would fit up here, but it will not fit down there. And then one of the biggest complaints about the second gen Sub2k was the trigger. It was plastic, it was spongy, it was not great. They have replaced that plastic spongy trigger with a nice metal aluminum trigger that has a nice smooth take up and break, and it's pretty good for a gun that's $400. It's made mostly of plastic and folds in half. But you know, how does it perform? How can we you know, use maybe a suppressor on here, something like that? Let's check that out right now. Now all day today we're going to be using 115 grain full metal jacket, 9mm. That should be coming out of here at roughly 1,300 feet per second. This is sighted in at about 20-25 yards, which should give us a pretty flat trajectory. It will come back down at about 80 to 85 yards out. But, you know, let's just look at how this works. And again, this uses the same Glock 19 magazines that the old Generation 2 did. And so if you have a Glock 19 and you bought a dagger and you have some of these 9mm Glock mags piling up, it's going to work, and you're going to start to, you know, get a stockpile of those, whether you go out and buy a bunch of them or not. So let's see how this thing does. We got some soda cans and water bottles and such. And this is one thing with the cheek weld, with this sight, you have to get very down on it. And that can sometimes push your earmuff headphones off of your ear. And so really I would rather have used earplugs, but I didn't have any in my bag since I typically just use these. So let's get it. And then let's see if I can get that one. And it doesn't hold back the bolt like, you know, an AR will, or, you know, other guns that have bolt holdbacks. It's just not like that. So when you want to reload, you do need to bring that back, cock it to the side, and then you can put in your favorite mag, like a YouTube approved 29 round Glock magazine, if you guys know what I'm saying. So you just pop that in there. I'll sort of switch sides here on the camera because we are going to go after that that bucket right there, and then you can, or no, I'll just stay over here. There, that's a better view. Then if you got a whole, you know, bucket of something that you need 29 rounds in, you can just let it eat from a real short range here. So you may be wondering, what is the difference between like something like a pistol, like a 9mm, like this PSA dagger with a 4.5-inch barrel, and this KelTec Sub 2K with a 16-inch barrel? And you might think that you get a ton more velocity out of that, but really you're not getting a whole bunch with that 9mm cartridge. I looked up a site called Ballistics by the Inch, and I started looking at what the difference was between an approximately 4.5-inch barrel like that PSA dagger, or a lot of other 9mm pistols out there, and the 16-inch, and there's just really not that much difference. If you are using Federal 115 grain full metal jackets out of a barrel that is 4.875, so right around that 4.5 range, you are getting 1,171 feet per second. This is, you know, their actual results. With the KelTec Sub 2K and a 16-inch barrel, you are getting 1,317 feet per second. So we are only talking about maybe 140, 150 feet per second difference with nearly 4 times the barrel. So, you know, what is the point of having this versus this? Because even folded, this is far more concealable than this. If you have this and you have a carbine like this, and you can have a farther grip you know, length, you can, if you have iron sights on here, they're farther apart. That gives you a better platform and a more accurate shooting platform. If you want to do things like put suppressors on it and stuff, things like this are going to function a lot better than something like this where it has to move and the barrel has to move. And then maybe you just like this. Maybe it's fun, and that is why I bought the thing. But let's go down and shoot one of our 1x1x1 wood blocks with both of these and see if there is any difference in how far it penetrates into something that's real. So let's see if there's any real world difference between, you know, these two guns with what I just told you about the, you know, the relative velocities of it. So this is our 9mm dagger. And I might have hit that one a little bit low. Let me put another one in there. And then our Sub 2K. And again, it is hard to get down on this thing and get a good cheek weld with these on, and then this with where it is with no riser on it. So here's our results of the penetration test between the dagger and the Sub 2K. And of course I didn't bring my impact, so I did this with a hand screwdriver. It took way too long. This was our first shot. It was a little low. Second shot was higher where I wanted it to be since we're facing down. And this is the Sub 2K. And whatever, you know, this comes up with, it is much easier to use a carbine to aim and quickly acquire a target and shoot. I don't think that that's any surprise to anyone, but if you're looking at like a pistol caliber carbine versus a pistol, that's, you know, some consideration. As we go through the first 1.5 inches of wood, there's really not much going on. This is the bottom dagger, top dagger, the Sub 2K. The second 1.5 inch, the top dagger kind of catches a bad break and hits a knot right here. The Sub2k is still going, and the bottom dagger is still trucking along. On the next one, really not any changes here, but we start to see this thing ripping through the bottom here, and that's why I wanted to shoot it a little bit higher. At this point, the dagger that hit the knot has stopped, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're 6 inches, 7 if you include that, into this block. The Sub2k is still flying along, and the dagger is starting to eat at the edge of the board. Obviously, no more of those. The 2K is still cruising. The dagger is still eating away at the edge of this board. And what you'll see is on the other side, we caught the bullet right there. And so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 1.5 should be 9 inches of wood until it stops right there. Then you can see where the nose of the bullet had just punched into the next one. The 2K is still rocking along, and so we're going to go a solid 1.5 inches through that before we get into this one. And I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see the bullet in there, but that bullet is lodged halfway through the board, so we'll call that another inch. And so a Sub2k, a 9mm bullet out of that 16-inch barrel is going to go through this kiln dried pine. This is just a 1x8x12 or 1x12x8 that we cut into sections to make a 1x1x1 wood block. It's going to get about 2 inches further than that, and that probably is about right for another 150 or so feet per second. So if you've ever wanted to turn a $400 gun into a $1,400 gun, just hang a can off the end of it. This is our hybrid 46. It's a 30 cal suppressor. You can put it on a bunch of stuff, and the barrel threads on the Sub2k are just your typical AR-15 1/2x28 threads. So any 30 cal can or multi-cal can that'll fit on there will fit on here. And so we're going to take a look at the difference here. We have our standard 115 grains on the top. We have 5 of those. Then we have 5 more that are 147 or 49 grain. They're supposedly subsonics. We'll see about it in this barrel, because just that little bit can make all the difference in the world. And we'll see what it sounds like, although it may be a little harder for you guys to tell on camera. Hopefully we get some sort of idea. So let's give it a shot. Oh, safety wasn't completely pushed off, which is good, because then it actually works. 4, 5. So these should be our subsonics now. Let's see if that's any different. I'll fire one off just into the ground. Yeah, it does sound like it is subsonic through there. And maybe you guys can hear the targets. They kind of ring a little bit less. Let's see if we can still get that one out to 50. Yep. We're all out. Again, this thing doesn't hold back. So, subsonics out of this 16-inch barrel should work just fine. Put yourself a nice suppressor on there, and you may be able to go to the range and save some ears, or just maybe limit the noise. Either way, it looks pretty cool, and it's a way to turn, like I said, a $400 gun into like a $1,400 gun. Heck, you could, depending on the accessories you put on it, you could get this thing all the way up to $2,000, $3,000. Now, the 9mm does take a lot of crap from, especially the 45 and the 10mm crowd, and in this Full Metal Jacket version, they're right. We've shot a lot of these targets like this up on the stand there, and they don't even move when they're shot with Full Metal Jackets, whereas a 45 ACP will just absolutely make it, explode like you would think that it would. However, that all changes typically when you put hollow points in there, and these are, I think these are Gold Spear tips or bullets. They're from Black Butterfly Ammunition. They gave us these for a video a long time ago. And I should also mention that KelTec has no idea who I am. They didn't give me this. I bought this with money that I get from ad revenue from viewers like you. So if you don't mind, subscribe down below, hit the like button. That really helps us out. Keeps us able to afford, more guns and ammo. But we're going to check out what the difference is between these hollow points. And if you guys are this far into the video and remember when we shot with just Full Metal Jackets, what the difference with that looks like. And we have, our soda pop cans in a watermelon over there. And we'll just kind of see what this does. And that's sort of like a MP5 slap that you can do with the KelTec Sub2k. So let's just go from right to left with this thing and see what it does. And we're leaving the suppressor on there, and that shot that cap way up there. And yeah, if you guys saw the first stuff, it is a much more violent impact. It just obliterates them versus kind of just splitting them in half. Let's see what happens with this watermelon. I expected to actually shoot it more than once, to be honest with you. But that is a pretty impressive explosion there. I don't even know if we really need to go look at it, because that impressed me. I didn't really think that was going to go as big as it did. But there you have it, the difference between shooting a full metal jacket versus shooting a hollow point, especially those expand to a very large degree, and you end up getting more damage and doing damage that gets up there with 45 or 10 millimeter. I know they're going to say with the hollow point they do the same, and you know, you're probably right. But if you guys like this today, if you're into this, please hit that like button down below, hit the subscribe button, share this with your friends, comment, leave the comments. I'm sure you'll hear all sorts of stuff about how everything that I did was wrong. Guys, the Sub2k 3rd Gen, very solid firearm, very fun. If it, you know, if not practical, this will fit in a bag, a small bag. This will fit on your motorcycle, ATV side by side. You could probably fit in your truck behind the seat, or whatever you want to use it for. But the way that this thing folds makes it extremely compact, makes it able to put a optic on it, keep it zeroed. In, you know, throughout the time that I've owned this, a couple weeks, I've been dry firing and such, you know, maneuvering it, folding it, opening it, whatever. The optic has stayed zeroed to this handguard, and with the way that I think that it's built, I think that's going to probably stay like that for quite a long time, probably to the you know, longer than it will wear out for me, and probably longer than it will be before it wears out for all of you guys. So I appreciate you watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.